Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today we're going to be talking about how to write melodies for specific genres. So I was asked, how do you do melodies for hip hop? And when someone asks questions like, how do I write a melody in this specific genre? That means that there's a sort of a misunderstanding on how to extract the main features for yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking the question. It's not a bad thing. It's just a thing. And so this is what I have as an example. This is like, of course, my take on what I thought the answer to your question was. But we're going to talk a little bit about melody and extracting it so that you can do exactly what you want to do, rather than me just give you like sets of ground rules that if you follow will produce a particular thing every time. Like, because that is so much less cool. So here's what I have. So it's just a little loop I made just to demonstrate it. But here, there's a couple things we can take note of before we get into the philosophy. The first one is in hip hop, I take note that it is very phrase-based melody. Now, I didn't change the phrase on the second one because I was going to do that with you, because we're also going to write a melody too. But it's very, very simple. They're usually simple because you want room for the singer or vocalist unless you don't have one. And then you would fill it up maybe a bit more. But right now it's also it's vibing on its own. So that's like I'm in a good in-between where I could expand if I want, but I'm also pretty full where I am if this is the vibe I'm going for. Another thing is they almost always land on the beat. They do not serve unusual meters. This is from the rhythm. And then if you go to the MIDI music theory series where we talk about melodic tools, the most used melodic tool by far is the grace note. And so here we have a grace note, that bum 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 bum, that sort of a thing. So I land on the beat. It's phrase based, and then I also use a passing tone. That's just general melody, though. That's like nothing really specific to any one genre. So let's back out to because we're going to talk about philosophies on how to do this. But first, you have to back out to melody by itself as a concept. So melody by itself as a concept is the most interesting thing happening in your song. It doesn't have to be a tonal pitch, right? Like here I have this dun 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 dun. Like it's a melody I can very easily sing, but if I took a song and chopped it up in a bunch of different ways and then played it back in a crazy way, it could form what would appear to be a melody, something that sort of sticks. It's the most interesting thing. It's the thing your attention is grabbed, that grabs you. That's why like dubstep definitely has melodies, but they're not always singable melodies because they're based on something other than pitch. And so now we're going to talk about pitch melodies, but if we back out to melody as a whole, it's not constrained to just pitch. It's a bigger concept than that. It's the most interesting thing. That's why in the 5 major parts of a beat or song, I listed as melody / theme, because that's the thing, the theme, whatever it is that grabs the listener. So now, if we step in a bit deeper, now we say, okay, I want to write for a specific genre. That's what I want to do. And so you have to ask yourself, what is the role of theme or melody when you split it up amongst the 5 main components of a beat or song? And so in hip hop, for example, I would go listen to a bunch of hip hop. I'd be taking notes and integrating what it is. So this is sort of a representation of some of the listening I do, or enjoy doing. So when we do that, we say, okay, how does, and then you say, melody interact with rhythm? So you look at you compare it to each one. So you say, okay, I noticed that the rhythms in hip hop, I noticed that they tend to be very subdivided. They do not often do crazy things. They don't go do 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 like they don't do stuff like that very often. The tempo is slower. The rhythms are very on the beat, serves the meter type deal. This is from the rhythm series on my YouTube channel, right? We know about this stuff. And so we say, okay, now what about harmony? Because we say, is my melody harmonically based? And we say, oh yeah, it is harmonically based. And then we say, how is it harmonically based? And we say, well, it pretty much plays notes in the key, and it very rarely plays notes that are not in the key. So it serves to be a very consonant sound in hip hop very often. Sometimes you want dissonance, but in this case, they're very consonant most of the time. Then we say, okay, so we've got that down. How does it interact on harmony with my chords? So it will almost always play a note in the chord, like the whole consonant thing again. So moving from harmony, we can go, how does it work with the structure? And then we could say, oh, it's phrase based. And so because it's phrase based, meaning it's not usually the melodies do not serve to take you on a journey or take you through a part of the song as a complete idea. Usually they are enough to establish a vibe, and then the listener, usually there's room for a vocalist, or the listener has to sort of put more into the song through their imagination. They're not usually like bum 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 na na na. Like that's very it's very driving, but it's not like hip hop because first off it's too fast, and structurally that's going to take you somewhere. It's like making a statement, where in hip hop it's a much too fast statement. It's I hope I'm making sense here. But anyways, it's not phrase based. Like you saw that we went bump 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 ba-do-ba-do-ba-do, in the sense that I could easily repeat these phrases over and over and over. So it's very like hook based. You want things that repeat well, and that you can vary over time. And then the last one is sound. So our sound here, now this is where we say, okay, most of the time you're going to be dealing with pitch-based sounds. So sound that you derive the melody through a sense of pitch. That's like a huge portion of melodies work like that in most genres. So once you define these relationships, you should have a really solid understanding of like, okay, now I know what my melody, like some properties of it. That's what you should have a solid understanding of. Now what you need to do is you need to sit down and devise a plan that will produce a melody of this sort. And there's a couple ways you could do this. One is you could just sit down and try and feel it out. This is the inspiration method. It works okay. It works phenomenally if you've got the inspiration. But when you don't have the inspiration, that's where you get sort of stuck. So then what do you do? Well, you can go listen to some music, get some inspiration. But the one that I find will often push you into new territories and actually push your inspiration level a lot farther is you sit down and you write out a step-by-step methodological. I'm not sure how to say that. You write out a method with whatever insert word there. Anyways, you write out a method to accomplish your melody. So let's go ahead and I was beginning to type this out when I realized I really just need to do a video on how to break this down. So that's how you would break it down. So you could do this for glitch hop, dubstep. You could do it for breakcore. Like if you break it down at the top concepts and then go down further, you'll begin to see the relationship. So let's say here, okay. So let's write out our method. Let's do that. Ignore my terrible mixing job. It's not because it's just being crushed right now. Notepad, notebook. There we go. So here's our method for hip hop melody writing, right? So we say first, we noticed that it was hook based, phrase based. I don't know if I can. Yeah, I can. Okay, hook based. So not necessarily to the point where it's a background rhythm. Sometimes it is, but hook based in the sense that it develops, but it's still got the same feeling repeatedly. Okay. So we say, okay, it's hook based. Of course, these can vary widely depending on whatever it is you're trying to do. That's why I want you to know this method. Then we say, structurally, the structural things are hook based. The harmony is we're going to use a chord or scale structure. I'm sorry if I misspell stuff. Structure, sure, why not? And then we say, okay, hook based, use a scale or chord structure. So I'm gonna think of some chords and then I'm gonna write those in. And then we say, all right, after a scale or chord structure, I will embellish it. Embellish. I'm pretty sure I spelled that right. Embellish with, and I noticed that grace notes were very common. With grace notes, oh, middle step, forgot a middle step. So this is 3, this is 4. So my middle step here, I noticed that it's meter based. So metrically solid, meter based, meaning I'm not gonna screw with the listener's intention of meter very much. It's gonna stay the same. That's very common for pop music. And then we say, or hip hop, or any sort of more mainstream type thing. So we have. So once I'm going to write it down, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to say embellish with grace notes and passing tones the most. So this is music theory in my MIDI music theory, like it's a video 70 to 80 or whatever. So I say, okay, this is my method. So I'm going to detach this window and maybe shrink it down a bit. And you do that by holding control and scrolling your mouse wheel. If you didn't know, it's a very handy dandy sort of tool. I'm gonna stick this right here just to remind myself of our goal. I'll put it up here. So okay, I'm going to clone this pattern, and I'm not gonna worry about the. I'm gonna get rid of our bass. I'm gonna get rid of our. I believe this was the lead. I've misnamed a lot of these things, and then this was a flute. But I'm gonna keep our pattern. It's not like a flute. It's like a synthesizer. But it sounds kind of like, it sounds like a sine wave. But I think of a flute. So, okay. I used battery for the drums. In case you're wondering, I just used the Funk 2 kit. And, yeah, that's what I used. So if we strip it down to just the drums, which I put down in sort of a fast manner, but it sounds like this. Yeah, that whoa is in there too. That came part of the kit. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll toss that in there. So you see a little bit of variation at the end, nothing too crazy. So we've got a good base. So okay, first, I'm gonna switch. It makes more sense to me to switch steps. Steps. It's hard to do this and talk at the same time. I'm going to switch steps 1 and 2 if you didn't pick up on that. I'm going to start with a chord or scale structure. That's probably the easiest method. So I say, all right, I'm going to start with, let's start with the bass. Let's start with the flute. So that's the sound I have to go on. I thought it was a sort of a cool sound. This is from Reactor. It's the Xanfer sound from the, what synth is this? I believe it's called Carbon. So, yes. I'm not going to show you all the background stuff. We're going to be focusing on this pattern here. So I say write this down. So I'm going to go with C, and then I'm going to maybe go down to a G, and then do maybe an inverted C and then C. So it's C, G, C, C, essentially. Like, that's it. So this is like C minor, C minor, C minor, G minor. So my structure is extraordinarily simple, just for today's sake. This is very, you'll see. Okay, so let's go ahead. And so we've got our structure. Now I need to write a hook. So one thing I left out of here was choosing my sounds, because I've already picked all my sounds. But you would pick your sound here in the middle, and I'm assuming you'd have some sort of an idea of what you want for a sound. If you don't, just go listen to someone else's song, see what they did, and maybe do something similar. It's up to you. For myself, I decided to use Polyplex. If you own Complete, you should have this, and it's called Tonal Mayo. It sounds like this. That's like a super popular sound. You can make it with a synthesizer or whatever, but that's like already done, so I like that. So let's go ahead and write in our melody. So I know it's C minor. And so to start off, let's get a little more detailed. So let's do step A. And can I indent? I have to just hit it. Okay, so step A, I am going to write a note on the chord on the beat. That's a very unsophisticated way of saying it. Then I will embellish said note. Then, that's really it. There's a 2-step process there. So, okay. Convenient, right? So, first, write a note on the chord on the beat. So I say, okay, I'll start with C. And then, okay, well, this one switches to G, right? I'll just put a G. And then this one goes to C again. Well, guess what? G is still in the C minor chord. I'm skipping the theory here, but if you need to, you can write out the chords. MIDI music theory again. And then we'll put down my last one. We'll put down a third. So E flat. But I'm going to move to a C. I'm gonna arrive at a C. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll arrive at a G. And the thing about arriving to a G is it's an unfinished feeling. Because it's a C here, it's not a deceptive cadence really, but it's still a very unfinished feeling. And so my melody as a concept will loop well. if you end with a C, if you end with the note of the one chord in your song, it's going to sound pretty done. And so your melody will, it won't loop as good. There's exceptions. It gets a little dicey. Just the MIDI music theory again. So, okay, so I've written this out right now. It's not that interesting. This is what I have. Oh, something I didn't explain too. I have some controls in here from earlier. I have a pitch bend, which I totally forgot about. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this. I'm going to move these down. So there'll be more of drones instead. Maybe even down another octave. Okay. So now I say I want this to be a cooler melody. So I'm going to go, okay, next step, embellish said note or divide the note. I could add that as another step. So I want to go C, and then let's see here. Get it? I'm going to go maybe let it ring. Nothing crazy here. That could work. We'll see. But anyways, you see what I'm doing. I'm embellishing it. I'm taking the basic chords. I'm saying I need to get from here to here, so I'll add a passing tone. I need to get from here to here. I'll add a little neighbor tone, and then I'll do another passing tone, and just simple stuff. I'm not following all the strict rules, but that's because we're making hip hop. We're not following like these crazy rules all the time. I'm just doing what I thought was a good idea. So let's see how it sounds. So right there, I could say, oh, I remember that grace note thing, right? That might be something you write down. So I'd be like, oh, I'll put in a very gentle grace note. So it'd be like that. So then I go about and I need to mix in my drums, make them fit better, fit this in better. Also, I feel like it's receiving unusual pitch information. So I'm going to put a command here just to say, don't play the pitch up like that. And then we could add in our bass. But there we have it. We followed our thing. We have a basic melody. And we could get more complicated. If you have more chords, you can take this a lot further. If you use more tools, maybe Podjatours, maybe that'd be a cool thing to toss in there. So we'll make another phrase here, but let's toss in a bass. And let's see here. What the heck did I use for my bass sound? Another polyplace. And so we will toss in our bass. Now our bass will just outline our chord. We want a G. Maybe we should just do whole notes. I'm not going to spend a long time on the bass line. We'll just do that. We'll take these down. That's not that great, but whatever. We're going to live with it for now. And so you do something like this and you come up with a cool thing. You spend more time doing this than I am right now. So I'm going to jump over to the other example I have, which consists of pattern 6. So here I wrote out my bass, my line, following a pretty, not the exact same thing because I already had sort of an idea. But on this one, for the melody, it was just this. This is what I settled on. And then you heard it with everything. And then on the second one, it's a hook-based melody, right? But I could, now that I have sort of my session, I can begin to sculpt it a bit more. I'm still unsettled about the bass. But now I could be like, okay, I went bump, 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 bump. I could go down and keep the same rhythm. So it's still got the same feel. It's just been introduced in a slightly different, more interesting way. Change my passing tone. So now we have it at the beginning, we have a new thing and another thing. And so we've taken a melody, not overcomplicated it, managed to write it, identified qualities that we like about it, and began to produce. And so that's sort of my 2 cents on melody. Getting something that sounds and grooves well, obviously you got to take the time to mix it as you go. In this particular case, I feel like mixing is something that you have to get at least a little bit good to move forward, because it's the sound in songs like this is really important. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Did this answer your question? Subscribe, support me on Patreon, and have a blessed day.